CM Punk winning the World Heavyweight Championship last night might be the best thing to happen on Raw in the last 2 years. Not because Punk needed another title, but because this championship is so cursed, so poorly booked, and so obviously the B title that it needed someone like Punk's ego to demand WWE to actually treat it like it matters. And going off the comment section on YouTube, it seems like most would agree with that. But before we talk about how Punk can save this title, let's talk about why it needs saving in the first place. Because the World Heavyweight Championship, Triple H's grand creation from April 2023, is the worst world title in WWE's history. 9 champions in just 2.5 years, 2 Money in the Bank cash-ins and once vacated, multiple reigns that ended in fan uproar. This title only exists, people, because Roman Reigns held the real championship hostage and WWE had to create a participation trophy for its flagship show, and now CM Punk has to be the one to fix it. So let's break down everything that's wrong with this cursed belt, and let's talk about whether Punk can actually turn this disaster around. But to understand why the title's cursed, you need to go back to where it was started. Back in 2023, Roman Reigns had been Universal Champion for over 1,000 days. He was working a part-time schedule. He would show up maybe once a month if you're lucky, and because of it, Raw had a problem that they didn't have a world champion. So what did WWE do? They dig the old World Heavyweight Championship out of retirement. You know, the big gold belt that was unified and retired back in 2013. Yeah, that they brought it back not because they had an amazing story to tell, but because they literally had no other option. Think about that. Every other major championship in WWE's history was created for a purpose. The WWE Championship, that is the lineage that goes back all the way to Buddy Rogers in 1963. The Intercontinental Champion was created to elevate the mid-card talent. But the World Heavyweight Championship in 2023, it exists because WWE painted themselves into a corner with Roman's booking. From day one, everyone knew it was just a consolation prize. And here's the kicker, they put it on Raw, the flagship show. Monday Night Raw, the show that's supposed to be WWE's premium brand, was walking around with the B Championship, while SmackDown had the real title. But wait, it gets even worse, and this is just a thought. Even the TV networks knew that the title was worthless. Fox literally looked at SmackDown with Roman and the Undisputed Championship and said, we want that show. When the Fox deal expired, they didn't renew because the return on investment wasn't there. Meanwhile, NBC paid more money to get SmackDown because they knew that's where the real value was. So the networks are literally voting with their wallets and they're saying the World Heavyweight Championship isn't worth. Now let's talk about the 2 Money in the Bank cash-ins, because if you want to kill a championship's credibility, this is how you do it. In traditional wrestling booking, a world championship should feel prestigious, hard to win. Championships should be long, meaningful reigns. Think of Austin versus Rock, Hogan versus Savage. These were feuds and these were stories. But for the World Heavyweight Championship, let's just have people steal it. 2 cash-ins in 8 total reigns. That's 25% of the title's history has been won through what is essentially a cheap shot. And that's WWE's fault because they booked themselves into oblivion. They even had Austin Theory cash in Money in the Bank for the US Championship because he couldn't go against Roman. And when Drew and Punk won, 2 champions who probably deserve nice title reigns, they killed those stories off. Then Seth Rollins does the most ironic thing possible. He fakes an injury for 3 weeks as the storyline. The whole thing was a ruse to set up his Money in the Bank cash-in on CM Punk at SummerSlam. Clever tactics, right? Except for when Seth actually gets injured, for real this time, at Crown Jewel in Perth doing a modified coast-to-coast spot against Cody Rhodes, he tears his shoulder and has to vacate after just 80 days. So let me get this straight. You fake an injury as a storyline, then get a real injury that ends your reign. It's just both sad and ironic that this had to happen to WWE and Seth Rollins, because the man does deserve better. Because when a core of your championship lineage is based on cash-ins and injuries with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, rather than actual victories, you don't have a prestigious title, you have a hot potato. But the cash-ins aren't even the worst part. Let's talk about the booking, because the title has been trapped in the same circular nonsense for its entire existence. With Seth Rollins and CM Punk, these two have been going in circles since the title was created. Punk wins it, Seth catches in, they feud, they split up, they come back together. It's the same story over and over again. And speaking of going nowhere, the Vision. Seth forms this faction with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman. Cool concept, right? A dominant heel stable with the World Heavyweight Championship as the leader. Except here's the problem, the Vision didn't need the title. Think about it, Braun Breaker is a 2nd generation monster who can main event on his own. Bronson Reed just beat Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman is Paul Heyman. The World Heavyweight Championship added nothing to this group, it was just there, a prop, and when Seth got injured, they had to disband the faction maybe. Nobody cared about the title, they cared about Breaker and Reed turning on Seth. So the title wasn't the story, it was barely even a part of the story, and that has been the problem with every reign so far. None of the feuds feuds were memorable. Can you name a single classic World Heavyweight Championship match from the past 2 years? And even the feuds that should be good, like Jey Uso versus Gunther or Seth's run, were either too short or drowned out by other better storylines happening elsewhere. But speaking of Jey Uso, let's talk about the reign that broke the fan base. Jey wins the Royal Rumble. Big moment, right? The crowd loves Jey. Yeet is over. This should work. Except for the moment he won the Rumble, fans were already speculating, and when he won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 41 beating Gunther, the criticism got louder. But here lied the problem. Jey's character didn't evolve. He won the World Heavyweight Championship and nothing changed. He was still the same juvenile yeet chanting guy and not a world champion. And you can see that because the booking reflected it. Jey held the title for 51 days. 51 days. And then he lost it to Gunther on Monday Night Raw. Not a premium live event, not at SummerSlam, on Raw. When Jey lost the title, WWE posted a video of kids crying. Actual kids in tears. And then you know what? Those kids were every right to cry because WWE built up Jey and gave him a big WrestleMania moment. Then Famer was furious. He publicly called the writers to be fired over how poorly the reign was handled. So 51 days for a World Championship reign. Bruno Sammartino held the WWE Championship for 2,800 days. CM Punk's legendary reign, 434 days. Roman Reigns as Universal Champion, over 1,300 days. Jey Uso, 51 days and out on Raw. So let's do the math because the numbers don't lie. The World Heavyweight Championship has existed for roughly 2.5 years. 8 different champions, and that's an average reign of 3 to 4 months. And I know 2 of them were slightly longer, but here's the breakdown. 2 Money in the Bank cash-ins, 2 reigns that lasted less than 53 days and caused fan outrage, 1 reign that lasted 80 days and ended in a vacant title, and multiple feuds that nobody remembered. That means nearly half of the title's history is either cheap wins, anticlimactic endings, or controversial short reigns that everyone hated. Compare that literally with any other major world championship in WWE's history, none of them had that kind of chaotic lineage. But here's what really seals it, the hierarchy problem. Raw's supposed to be the flagship, the longest running weekly episodic television show in history, the show where legends were made, and their world champion is walking around with what everyone, and I mean everyone, knows is the less important belt. When Roman finally dropped the Undisputed Championship, where did he go? SmackDown. Cody Rhodes on SmackDown has the title. It's also the one John Cena fought for his 17th title reign. That's the one that matters. That's the one that main evented WrestleMania. And I know other world titles in WWE's history have had rough patches. The Universal Championship had critics during Goldberg's era, but none of them were born cursed. None of them were created as a consolation prize. The World Heavyweight Championship is what happens when you prioritize one performer's schedule over the health of the entire championship structure. It's what happens when you refuse to pivot, whether it be Roman or Cody Rhodes right now. But here's the thing, and this is why Punk winning last night matters. It doesn't have to stay this way, and if WWE plays their cards right, this could be the moment everything changes. And here's how they can salvage the disaster. First, commit to a long reign. Punk needs to hold the title for at least 6 months. A full year would be ideal. No more 51-day jokes and no more 80 days after injury. Give the championship time to actually build credibility. Secondly, book real feuds. Punk has natural enemies on Raw. Braun Breaker just turned on Seth Rollins and could be the monster heel challenger. Seth himself will eventually return from injury looking for revenge, and LA Knight has been knocking on the door. These are stories people actually want to see. Not circular booking with the same opponent, not a drama where the title's just a prop. Give us blood feuds, give us personal stakes, give us something that we will actually remember, like Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. Everyone still remembers that. Thirdly, treat Raw like the A show that it's supposed to be. No more world title changes on random Monday nights. Save those moments for premium live events. Make the title defenses feel special again. When Punk defends, it should feel like an event. And finally, stop treating this belt like the Undisputed Championship's understudy. Cody has the title on SmackDown. That's fine, but that means the World Heavyweight Championship needs to be the title on Raw and no other title. No backup plans, the title. If WWE does this, this actually commits to building Punk's reign properly instead of using the championship as a band-aid for poor planning. Then maybe after 5 years from now, we'll be looking back at Saturday Night's Main Event 2025 as the turning point, the moment when the worst world title in WWE's history started becoming something worth fighting for. And here's why Punk can actually pull it off. He's one of the few people in WWE with enough star power and credibility to force WWE to book him properly. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and to subscribe for more wrestling deep dives.